Hey, thanks for coming back to the channel. Last week's video generated a lot of great discussion around the topic of touch-based mixing consoles and the various features that different users find valuable. Debate over price was at the forefront, with the discussion weighing the cost of the TouchMix against a unit such as the Behringer X-Air or Soundcraft UI series mixers, which also require the purchase of a tablet to operate them. The point was also raised in abundance that one of the most sought-after features, multi-touch, or the ability to operate more than one fader at a time, also requires the use of a tablet to accomplish with the TouchMix. I personally fall into the group who already needs to carry an iPad as a general tool in my everyday gig bag. I use cheap, used Wi-Fi plus LTE iPad Mini 2s that I buy inexpensively. I use them for everything from entertainment on the road to go button playback, console control, and honestly, the ability to carry all the PDFs I have stored in the cloud for stage plots, equipment manuals, and things like that make the iPad absolutely invaluable to me, even if that's all it did. So for me, the cost of an iPad doesn't really factor into any console cost, but either way you look at it, the TouchMix series is in a premium price bracket compared to the more recent lunchbox style offerings. I personally believe the inclusion of hardware controls and output delay make it the better console for my work. Each of these offerings surely though has its own areas where it shines over the competitors, and I look forward to reviewing more touch-based mixing consoles in the coming months and seeing what they each have to offer. So let's take a closer look at the TouchMix 8 and how you actually interact with its various features. So getting into individual channels, let's go ahead and play around with our actual channel here that we're using. This is the main EQ view you're going to see when you first open up the channel, and it gives you a really nice set of features here. Again, on a mixer this small, incredible that they've included so much. There are much bigger mixers on the market that don't give you nearly as much EQ control as the TouchMix does. This gives you a remarkable amount of EQ control for such a small package. You've got a low cut and high cut filters, very handy, variable low cut and high cut. You have 4 independent parametric filters on every input. The bottom number 1 filter and the top number 4 filter can also switch between a standard parametric bell-shaped filter with variable Q to a shelf filter if you need that for any reason. So really handy to have low cut, shelf or parametric, fully parametric, shelf or parametric again, and a high cut. Just absolutely as flexible as can be on the EQ, and very handy for corporate work. On the low cut, let's go ahead and add that in, and that's all the way out. That's down to 20, and as I start to bring it up, you can hear that engaging up to around 250. That's pretty extreme. And then all the way up to 2K, so you can see the range on that. You've got 20 hertz up to 2000, wherever you need that to be. Typically for something like this, I would keep it somewhere around 80 to 100, but depending on the environment, you can definitely take lavalier and lectern mics and things like that up as high as into the 200s there to mitigate certain problems in real-world scenarios. The EQ is equally as powerful. If I want to pull out a little, let's say 250, and let's go ahead and yank that and make it nice and tight. You can hear, I'm going to just sweep this EQ so you can kind of hear it. Hey. And we'll sweep through the band. Hey. So very nice, powerful EQ. You got minus 15 dB there, and as well plus 15. So you've got quite a bit of range with 15 dB of cut or boost on 4 separate parametric filters there. Very full-featured EQ for a small console. You would be hard-pressed to ask for more EQ functionality in any console, let alone something this small. So next up is our compressor. This again is incredibly fully featured for a compact mixer. First things first, our compressor is, you have a compressor in or out. You can turn it on or off very simply. If you don't want to get involved in all of the features they give you, you can turn it to a simple compressor, and just basically you end up with a 1 knob compression there. Hey, you can hear that starting to bite in, and that's really crushing. But this just gives you general, if you're not really sure what to do with a compressor, but you know you've got some peaks that you want to eliminate, if you've got somebody that really gets up on the microphone and you want to keep that to a minimum and keep your mix under control, you can just use a simple compressor. And you can see that grabbing. I've got it set pretty aggressively here right now. If I turn that off though, we can go back to our main screen here with all of our advanced features. You've got threshold over here, so if I raise that all the way up, the compressor is obviously not going to grab at all. There will be no compression. As I reduce this down, hey, you can see it just starting to get in at minus 18 with this kind of level. And you've got ratio control over here. There's your ratio control, anywhere from 1 to 1, which is no compression, all the way to 20 to 1, which is extreme compression, and everything in between in nice fine increments. Looks like it's, yeah, really nice fine increments there. No worries. Our attack time here is fully adjustable, depending on when you want the compressor to start, and the release time, or how quickly you want the compressor to let go. What they've done with this display here is very unique, and it's explained in their manual in detail. And they've added, instead of just the typical graph that shows you input to output relationship, they've added the element of time into this graph. So as I adjust threshold, you can see the overall level, this line here, being adjusted up and down. Very good. Attack time is this curve here. So you can see my attack time getting shorter and getting longer, and this is the amount of time, again, when that waveform starts, that's the amount of time it takes for the compressor to actually begin to work. Release, or again, how much time you want the compressor to take to release back to the uncompressed signal. So this here is the amount of time. That's the window in which your compression is happening. Very, very neat. And then the ratio here, as I adjust that, you can see a 1-to-1 ratio, no compression, 20 to 1. There's your attack slope, the full compression, and the release again. So that's a really, really nice way to visualize compression. If you like the videos on this channel, one of the best ways to support the channel without spending any extra money is to follow the affiliate links in the description below. You don't have to buy those products, but as you shop on those sites, it will help to support the channel a little bit, and it really does help. So thanks again for doing that. It makes a big difference. Another amazingly cool feature for something this small is it has a built-in Deesser. So if you've got a lot of hisses and things, you can go in and grab that really quickly and try to eliminate some of that hissing and S's and the sibilance that can get a little bit out of control on something like this, a shotgun mic. So that's very, very handy to use, to use in a real-world environment with a lavalier or a shotgun or anywhere where somebody's getting a bit hissy. Next up, we have gate, and again, they've done the same thing here. You've got your threshold level, you've got your attack time, this slope here, you've got your release time here, and then you've got your hold time, which is the top line, and then you've got your attenuation, minus 60 or something really slight. So a minus 6 dB attenuation would be helpful for when you've got maybe a panel discussion and you want, the microphones not to be wide open when somebody's not talking into them. With this, you could set that up so you're just knocking, 3 or 6 dB back off of each mic when they're not being directly spoken into. Or you could do something like a snare drum where you really want it to slam shut for a special effect. You want to really cut off that snare right after the initial impact. And you can set that up with, down to minus 100. Most mixers don't go that low on a gate, but this thing can absolutely do that. So very, very cool implementation, again, showing you that time and how the gate is operating over the time with the attack, the hold, and the release being visualized very clearly between your threshold or input and your attenuation or output. Well, let's set this up real quick. So I'm going to back my threshold all the way out. I'm going to back my attenuation down to minus 6 so you can see what I'm talking about. Attack time on something like spoken word, I'm going to go with 8 milliseconds. I'm going to do about 120 on the release just to start at 113 there. I think I can get fine control over that using my push in and turn. And my hold, I'm going to have that, I'm going to go ahead and have the hold set pretty short. So maybe somewhere around there. Hey. So now with my gate in, you can see it is wide open, threshold's down at 60. So if I'm hitting 0 on the input level, I'm going to want to take that up to somewhere around minus 18 is where that's probably going to start. You can see on my gain reduction, It's just slowly reducing the channel. I can let that release out a little longer, let my hold time out a little bit longer. Hey. Let's go ahead and make that just a tiny bit longer. Much longer release. Hey. So you can see, you can hear it if you listen closely. You can hear that gate closing, but it's not slamming shut. It's not dramatic. There's definitely still, if I back off the mic's still there, and you can, fine tune that as you need to for each individual voice. I'm going to make it a little less obvious there. Hey, by reducing that attenuation down to 3 dB. Hey. Yes, I can definitely hear. Hey. You can definitely hear the gate happening. Hey. But this is the kind of thing that over the course of, if you had like 6 or 8 or 10 mics on a panel discussion, this would, setting up something like this will allow you to have a little bit more control over those mics being just wide open. But again, just a very nice implementation of a gate in a small mixer. Effects for each channel, you have control. Again, we will, hey. There's my delay, effects mute. And you can configure some of the basic parameters of each one of these effects right here: delay time and regeneration, size of reverb, pre-delay, things like that. So you have a little bit of control of the effects right here from where you assign them from each channel. So that's really cool. If you wanted to crank up some reverb and then all of a sudden you decide, oh man, I need some pre-delay, there you go. Auxes on each channel. Again, you can just put whatever channel you need directly from the channel. You can see where it's assigned. This is the aux setup page here, and you can choose pre or post fade. You can choose pre-dynamic, which is really, really handy if you want to pick off your aux ends before a compressor or a gate. That's an amazing feature for a mixer this small. Having output delay on all 4 of the aux ends and the main left-right makes this, in my opinion, a usable professional mixer. There's really only 2 features that I think are absolutely a necessity. I could get by without the gate being brilliant or the compressor being that fully featured. What I really need, though, in a professional mixer, if I'm relying on this on a job, is A, to have hardware control. I cannot have a mixer on a job that is only accessible through an iPad or a Wi-Fi connection. There simply must be, the touchscreen is nice, but being able to use an actual hardware control for that one channel or for the main mix is an absolute necessity. When you lose connectivity with that iPad, which will happen, it's not an if, it's a when, I want to be able to have a physical knob or fader that I can touch and make adjustments with. The other feature that's an absolute must-have in my mind is output delay. You simply can't go on a professional job doing almost anything, even if it's a small wedding band or a small cocktail band. If you need to put a speaker in a different zone or a different physical location, you absolutely must have output delay. Now, if you want to carry a separate output delay unit, that's fine. You can definitely do that with any mixer. That's, the counter to any argument there is, oh, bring your own delay. But I really don't understand why other companies aren't including it. Well, I do understand it. It's simply to protect the other mixers in their lineup. It seems like they don't want you to be able to buy one of their small portable mixers and get all the features of their big mixers. And I don't know if it's because QSC didn't have a horse in that race. They don't have another mixer on the market. The TouchMix is their mixer line. That they went ahead and threw the kitchen sink at this thing. They put in all the features that you need. And I personally think, knowing QSC and having used so many of their products over the last decade and a half, I personally think they just did a great job on this mixer. I think they just didn't compromise on features that they felt were professional. I think it worked out really well for them that they didn't have another mixer in their lineup that they needed to protect the feature set of, but they didn't hold back here. They gave you everything. And output delay is one of those features that I personally can't live without. If I'm going to do even the smallest of job, there's a chance that I'm going to have to put a speaker in a remote area. I'm going to have to do a zone send or something to that effect, and I'm going to need output delay. So here we have the output delay, and simply on every output, the left, right, master, send, and all 4 of the auxes, you have the ability to assign output delay. It's just as simple as dialing up how many feet the distance is between your primary speaker or your source and what your zone is that you want to delay. And you dial it in. You've got time in milliseconds, distance in meters, and distance in feet. So you don't even have to do any calculations here. If you're not, familiar with how to calculate delay times based on distance, just dial it in meters or feet. Just take a measurement and off you go. Another amazing feature for this console is these speaker settings. If you are using QSC speakers, if you're using the K series like a K10 with a K sub, it tells you how to set your speakers. That's really cool. That's really, really handy to have that in the console. It's not buried in the manual. It is included in the manual, but the console itself tells you to go to your speaker and rotate 4 detents or clicks past 0 for the optimal input sensitivity for your speakers with this mixer. Same thing with the GXD. If you're using their amplifiers, it tells you how to set the amplifier up right from the console. Oh, another nice feature is on these outputs, you also have graphic EQ on all of your outputs. You have a limiter on all of your outputs. You have parametric EQ, 4 more bands, plus the low cut and the high cut on all of your outputs. And then there's some presets. I don't think I'd ever use those, but they're there if you need them. And then in the setup, you get your output delay and how to actually set your speakers. Above all the other features, just having the hardware control, its own screen that's not reliant upon an iPad to be used, and the fact that it has output delay on all of the outputs just makes this a professional mixer, in my opinion. I can take this on professional paid jobs and be confident that I've got all the tools I need. So that's it for my real-world look at how the TouchMix 8 operates. Unfortunately, I had to return this unit before I was able to dive into the iPad app for a critical review. I'd encourage anyone interested in this mixer to simply download the app now and give it a try yourself. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to the folks who have chosen to support these videos on Patreon. And to everyone who has liked, shared, or commented on a video, thank you so much for helping to grow the channel and build such an awesome community of supporters. Stay tuned, I've got lots more to come. If you like the videos on this channel, one of the best ways to support the channel without spending any extra money is to follow the affiliate links in the description below. You don't have to buy those products, but as you shop on those sites, it will help to support the channel a little bit, and it really does help. So thanks again for doing that. It makes a big difference.